Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 15 of the Tour de France. 202 kilometers, about 125 miles in length. And today's stage is lumpy and bumpy throughout the stage, but I really want you to focus on the last KOM. There's only two here on today's stage. There's more than two climbs, but two KOMs. And the last one's going to crest with about 48 kilometers to go. Long descent, twisty and open when we get down to the bottom, and then flat into the finish. So the MO of today's stage could be just about anything. Large breakaway could go up the stage, or it could be a field sprint if the sprinter teams can hold everything together. Now when the racing starts, it's Primož Roglič, the big headline here from Jumbo-Visma, that is going to abandon at the start of today's stage. Now he crashed all the way back on stage 5 of the cobblestones, and if you remember right on the Glibier on stage 11, he was lighting it up with Jonas Vingegaard and helped deliver Jumbo-Visma, the race leader's yellow jersey, at the end of that stage on Ganon for Jonas Vingegaard. He's had enough and he's dropping out here. That's going to leave Jumbo-Visma down to 7 riders here at the Tour de France starting. Now when the race gets started, it's Lotto Soudal throwing in the first attack, so we know Caleb Ewan is still hurting from his crash 2 days ago. That means anything's possible on today's stage. And then the next rider to attack after the Lotto Soudal rider's brought back is going to be Niels Pollitt from Bora Hansgrohe that goes up the road with Wout van Aert in the green jersey from Jumbo-Visma. They got a little bit of company there with Mikel Honoré from Quick-Step joining. That's 3 riders going up the front. Behind in the peloton, there's a little bit of chaos at this moment because race leader's yellow jersey, Jonas Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma, was in the front split, and Tadej Pogačar had to do some work to get up there. He will get up there and close the gap, and then everything sits up, and those 3 riders start getting a time gap of about 1.5 minutes up the front. All 3 riders working well together. I'm sitting in the NBC studios thinking, wow, what are you doing at this point in time? You got Primož Roglič abandoning here on stage 7, and you're going up the road. This just looks like a nightmare scenario when you start thinking about how important Primož Roglič would have been to Jumbo-Visma and these coming mountain stages after tomorrow's rest day. And Wout van Aert, the Energizer Bunny, he's up there throwing in massive power on the pedals. Finally, Steven Kruijswijk went back and talked to the Jumbo-Visma director in the car. And I know this because we have it for NBC. Robbie Hunter on the motorcycle here at the Tour de France. He relayed the information to us that he saw Steven Kruijswijk talking to the Jumbo-Visma director. And next thing you know, 40 kilometers after Wout van Aert's been in the break, the director's up there next to him having a talk with Wout van Aert. And then Wout van Aert sits up and goes back. Fantastic, intelligent move. Came a bit late to take 40 kilometers for Wout van Aert to figure out that a group of 3 is not a very good idea when you got 3 teams back there chasing. Reminds me just like of stage 6 when Wout van Aert was up there in the race leader's yellow jersey and lost all of the gains that he had at the Tour de France, giving up any chance of winning the stage win and losing the race leader's jersey. Now today I'm just thinking, wow, Wout van Aert, that was a lot of energy to spend when you know you got 3 teams chasing back there. 2 riders stay up front, Mikel Honoré and Bora Hansgrohe, Niels Pollitt. They're going full gas. Not a bad strategy right here because that means Quick-Step don't have to chase in the back, and it means Bora Hansgrohe don't have to chase back there either because they have Danny van Poppel, the sprinter, here for stage 15. Now up front, their gap never got very big. The highest I saw it about 2.5, 2:45 on the lead peloton behind, as they didn't plan on giving anybody any leash here. With Bike Exchange pulling, Alpecin Phoenix, and Trek Segafredo at the front of the peloton. Now, when we come into 65 kilometers to go, things start getting really interesting. There was a crash a little bit earlier with the EF Education rider at 73, and then right here at 65 is a big, important crash because it's Steven Kruijswijk hitting the deck. We see Wout van Aert standing there, but I didn't see Wout van Aert go down. Steven Kruijswijk, he's stuck onto the ground and he's not getting up. At this point in time, you see Wout van Aert, he's looking back at Stevie and he knows there's a problem. This is going to be rider number 2 on stage 15 that has to abandon because Steven Kruijswijk looks like he's got a broken collarbone. We're going to see him later put into the ambulance, so we know that's 2 riders out for Jumbo-Visma. Now, it doesn't take very long. About 10 kilometers later, before the sprint points competition, there's going to be another crash, and it's involving race leader yellow jersey wearer Jonas Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma, and he's gone down with Tiesj Benoot. We see a little bit of chaos right here as Tiesj Benoot is getting up. Jonas Vingegaard, he's stressing over his bike, getting his chain back on, jumps on his bike, and at the same time, this is almost a comical moment because Tiesj Benoot, he's looking for his computer. He's dropped his race computer, and he doesn't want to ride out the finish of the stage without knowing how many kilometers he's done and how much power he's putting out. We see that the metal car almost ran over the computer, and Tish Benut's in more of a hurry to get his computer. Up front, Jonas Vingegaard's panicking big time. He tried to hop on his bike, but it's not working. When we back the film up just a little bit, let me show you the Jumbo-Visma mechanic as he's dodging around Tish Benut, who's looking for his computer. The mechanic's running up to Jonas Vingegaard, and Jonas Vingegaard's bike's not going to work. So Jonas Vingegaard's going to throw his $10,000 bike onto the ground, jump on his spare bike, and at the same moment, when we back the picture up and look at, Tish Benut's walking over, picking up his $200 computer. Now race leader Jumbo-Visma jumps on his bike, and he is throwing hard on the pedals. There's chaos up at the front of the peloton because everybody is not slowing down here. We still got teams on the front pulling with Trek Segafredo now going full gas. Alpecin Kunik is up there. With that kind of speed, we know now why Jonas Vingegaard's panicking back there. They drop a couple riders back at first with Sepp Kuss and Christophe Laporte. Later, Nathan Van Hooydonk quickly drops back, and when we look at the group, there's 4 Jumbo-Visma riders. But Wout van Aert's still at the front. That's because we got a sprint point line competition coming. Now, Wout van Aert's not going to drop back for Jonas Vingegaard, and we're going to see the peloton strung out, coming apart in pieces. Jonas Vingegaard's going to abandon his teammates and then start accelerating on his own. I don't know what happened to Tish Benut. He's probably still looking for his computer unit back there on the ground if he hasn't gotten going yet. Oh yes, there he is. He's holding on to a sticky bottle. He's getting his car as he's pulling him back up to the tail end of the peloton, but everything's exploded. Now let's get back up to the tail end of the peloton, and Jonas is pulling full gas trying to get up to the front of the peloton. Now with the sprint point competition coming up, I want to show you that this Wout van Aert that wins 3rd place points here on today's stage 15. I don't know what's going on, guys. I really don't. Wout van Aert's been in a break, going up the road with only 2 other riders that he rode for 40 kilometers. Now he's going for sprint point competition points, while at the back is Jonas in race leader's yellow jersey, sprinting by everyone, trying to get back up to the front. Well, Wout van Aert did get first out of the peloton here and got 3rd place points. Congratulations, Wout. You're wrapping up and securing that green points jersey here at the Tour de France. Now, Jonas Vingegaard will eventually get to the front, and the whole reason he is panicking is because right after that sprint points, the climb starts going up, and this climb's about 5 kilometers long at 4.5%. But really, the climb started much more before that, even before the sprint points competition started proper. Up front, it's Trek Segafredo. They're throwing down hard, and they're bringing back the 2 original breakaway riders, while off the back, it's Dylan Groenewegen and his Bike Exchange teammates coming out the back of the group. Only this time, instead of at Dauphiné, where they left guys in the front, here at the Tour de France, stage 15, Dylan Groenewegen's got every one of his Bike Exchange teammates with him. There's 4 of them left, plus Dylan. That makes 5 back there. Up front, it's Nick Schultz, who's pulling 100%. If we back the film all the way up to Dauphiné, I'll remind you guys on stage 1, Nick Schultz was the rider that they saved at the front when Bike Exchange Dylan Groenewegen couldn't make it to the tail end of the peloton with 5 kilometers to go. Now with Nick Schultz back there and 4 Bike Exchange guys pulling hard, they'll make it over the top of this KOM about 45 seconds to a minute off the tail end of the peloton, still being led by Trek Segafredo. There's a little bit of a pause when we saw 2 riders go off the front just over the KOM, and it's Cofidis Benjamin Thomas and Alexis Goujard from B&B Hotel. Those 2 riders are throwing in every bit of effort they got left here on stage 15 in the Tour de France. And if I rewind the film all the way back to the beginning of the stage, I can show you where both those riders were individually attacking early here on stage 15. Now it's late on stage 15, and they got about 45 kilometers to go with a little bit of gap on the Trek Segafredo train behind. There'll be a slight hesitation back there in the GC favorites, and that group was only down to about 80 riders at one point in time. Once that hesitation happens, though, from Trek Segafredo, guess who gets back on? It's Bike Exchange. Congratulations, Bike Exchange. That was a well-organized chase for Dylan Groenewegen here on stage 15. Giving Dylan Groenewegen a shot at winning the sprint here at the end of the stage. Now with 25 kilometers to go, that's when we start seeing the 2 riders up front, and their gap's getting up to around 30-40 seconds at points in time here coming into the finish. 15 kilometers to go, it starts getting exciting back there in the GC favorites, because now we start seeing Team Ineos and the GC favorites along with the sprinter teams all at the front. Want to point something out here in the picture though. It's Jumbo-Visma on the front. It's Christophe Laporte looking after Jonas Vingegaard. Now we look a little bit further back. Wout van Aert in green, he's taking care of himself because he wants to try to win here at stage 15. I don't know what Jumbo's thinking at this point in time. All of their riders have been dropped. Thies Benoot went down in a crash. Sepp Kuss has been dropped. Laporte did an amazing job when he dropped back for the crash there with Vingegaard, and now he's gotten them back up to the front group and he's looking after him at this moment. But there's no other teammates other than Christophe Laporte, who's performing well over his pay grade. He is the only rider looking after Jonas Vingegaard because Wout van Aert's trying to win the stage. Now I'm thinking in my mind, this is absolutely insane and crazy when you got a rider that can win the race leader's yellow jersey here of the Tour de France in 2022 and you're not looking after him proper. Remember guys, at any point in time during this last descent off this KOM with 48 kilometers to go, if he flats at any point in time, we're going to only have two teammates there, Wout van Aert and Christophe Laporte for him. And Christophe Laporte's pulling like a maniac right now on the front, keeping him in good position. I'm okay with that tactic, but not with the tactic of Wout van Aert, just looking after himself, trying to win the stage here. Now we come into the finish with 10 kilometers to go. There's still a lead to the two riders up front, but it's narrow. 4.5 kilometers to go. It's Benjamin Thomas that throws in attack. He's going solo. Time gap, those under 10 seconds. Behind, we see some chaos because the group is pretty small back there, so it's never for sure which teams are going to keep pushing here on the pedals to try to bring back Benjamin Thomas, but you know it's going to happen. Under 1.5 kilometers to go, Benjamin Thomas looks right over his shoulder. Don't look right because the peloton's coming down on you hard. 1K to go. Benjamin Thomas, as he's under the banner, and we look back, it's bike exchange on the front. Dylan Groenewegen sitting second wheel, got his teammate in front of him. When we look a little bit to the right, it's Total Energy set up there with Peter Sagan sitting second wheel. We come into the left at 700 meters. Peter Sagan's going to sit up. Edvald Boasson-Hagen's going to accelerate because there's nobody left as the bike exchange duo up front. He's starting to pull off, and Dylan Groenewegen knows he's going to have to switch and go back to one of the sprinter trains. Now, Edvald Boasson-Hagen at 450 meters to go. He's catching Benjamin Thomas with a shot here at the stage win on stage 15 of the Tour de France. Only problem is, next coming up is going to be Trek Segafredo Stuyvens, who takes the front with about 400 meters to go in the stage. He's leading out Mads Pedersen. Remember, Mads Pedersen's got his stage win here at the Tour de France, and he took it the hard way 2 stages ago when Caleb Ewan's Laos Soudal crashed hard on that stage, and that group of 6 went all the way to the line. Now we look up back here in front. It's Trek Segafredo in front. Stuyvens leading out Mads Pedersen. Peter Sagan's locked onto the wheel. Wout van Aert's back there, and then it gets a little bit more dicey because it's Jasper Philipsen, Dylan Groenewegen, and Mozzato, who's riding for B&B Hotel slightly off to the right of Dylan Groenewegen. It'll take just 100 meters more. At 300 meters to go, Mozzato pushes out hard left, and it'll come out in front of Dylan Groenewegen. Groenewegen knows he needs to be in a better position for this final 200-meter left turn to the finish, and Dylan Groenewegen will throw in one more acceleration. Only issue is right now, Jasper Philipsen's got other ideas on how to win here on stage 15 of the Tour de France. He knows with 200 meters to go, when the left turn starts proper, he better be up there near the front, because when they exit this left turn, it's 150 meters to go. Trek Segafredo is still on the front with Stuyvens that's doing a marvelous job cutting tight to the inside left turn of the fencing there, and that's going to keep it lined up so no one can pass Trek Segafredo before the turn starts here proper. Philipsen's did a great job of coming up the left side, and now as the left turn is exiting, he's got the wheel there of the Trek Segafredo, Mads Pedersen. He's squeezing off a little bit from Wout van Aert with Peter Sagan still in the picture. Now we see as they come out proper, Stuyvens done. He pulls off hard right. Mads Pedersen starts the sprint with about 150 meters to go. Jasper Philipsen throws in a massive acceleration, and we see those two riders look like they're just about ready to hit front wheel and back wheel there as Philipsen starts a mad dash to the line all the way to the left against the fencing. On the right side, it's Wout van Aert. Wout van Aert started his sprint, and we got 3 guys going across the road with about 100 meters to go. It's Jasper Philipsen on the left, in the center, Mads Pedersen, and on the right, it's Wout van Aert. Jasper Philipsen's got a little bit of an edge, and that's all he's going to need. He's going to do one more big acceleration, throw the bike at the line to win stage 15. Wout van Aert, Jumbo-Visma crosses the line for second, and Mads Pedersen crosses the line for third to round out the podium here on stage 15 of the Tour de France. Congratulations, Jasper Philipsen, on a marvelous sprint here, and well deserved. Let me remind you guys, on stage 4 of the Tour de France, he sprinted for the line and victory saluted, thinking he won that stage 4, but it was Wout van Aert who soloed that stage to finish first. Jasper Philipsen was second that day. Now today, stage 15, he gets that elusive stage victory here at the Tour de France, his first victory in the Tour de France. Congratulations. Fantastic display from Alpecin Phoenix, riding all day. Philipsen was amazing going up the last KOM, keeping always in a fantastic position right there just near the Trek Segafredo train that was drilling it up this last KOM on stage 15. Now I want to give you guys a little more thing here about the Jasper Philipsen's victory here, because Tim Merlier was their #1 sprinter starting this season in 2022. Tim Merlier signed for Quick-Step just before the Tour de France began, so he was held off the team. Jasper Philipsen brought into the team as their sole sprinter, along with Mathieu van der Poel. Now, we all know the story with Mathieu van der Poel dropping out once the mountain started proper. He dropped out from all the effort from the Giro d'Italia and a stage victory he took there. Now, all the weight for Alpecin Phoenix was put on the shoulder of Jasper Philipsen, the young sprinter here for Alpecin de Koenig, and he delivered here on stage 15. This is a great story. Now, when I break down today's tactics in the race, I thought they were ridiculous from Jumbo-Visma. When you look at Primož Roglič not starting the stage, Steven Kruijswijk crashing out, I just got to believe Wout van Aert, the energy that he expended throughout today's stage, the risk that he took doing the sprint and possibly crashing out before we get into the mountain stages 2 days from now, it's just too high. There's no reason to have Wout van Aert sprinting on a stage like this when we have 3 big mountain stages coming up. Let him try to win the individual time trial. Let him try to win on the Champs if he wants to win, but not here on stage 15. Remember, with that crash from Jonas and Thijs Benoot, while Thijs Benoot was looking for his computer instead of just getting on his bike, riding as fast as he can with his race leader's yellow jersey of Jonas Vingegaard up front, he was looking for his computer. That means Jonas was left on his own. The teammates came back. Christophe Laporte somehow did an amazing job of getting him close, and then Jonas Vingegaard was accelerating the whole time along the side of the peloton as Wout van Aert was busy going for the race leader's green points at that point sprint competition line. Doesn't make any sense how Jumbo-Visma played today's stage. And luckily, they at least pulled Wout van Aert out of that 3-rider group, so he didn't spend all day 200 kilometers off in a 3-rider group here at the Tour de France. Now, when we look forward, you got to keep in mind, Jumbo-Visma are down 2 riders. Thijs Benoot crashed, so he could be hurting. Jonas crashed, the race leader here at the Tour de France, so he could be hurting when the mountain stage started. Sepp Kuss, we saw him get dropped going up that small KOM once Jonas Vingegaard had to go solo. When we look at the finish of today's stage, there's only 3 Jumbo-Visma in that front group. Wout van Aert is racing for himself. Chris Laporte was spending a ton of energy on the front looking after Jonas Vingegaard. So when we get in these mountain stages, guys, like and subscribe because anything is possible. The tactics are going to be amazing on the next stage 16 here of the Tour de France. And look forward to the butterfly effect tomorrow as I cover some of what I believe we could expect on the coming mountain stages here of the Tour de France. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you real soon.